Hello and welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are live from the Roman Oven Pizzeria, and as always, we're powered by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal have you covered. In addition to their tree services, they can also haul rock and sand. They can do driveway work and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Tonight is week one of our live broadcast from the Roman Oven. We'd love to have you come by and join us, have some supper, and let's talk high school football. In just a moment, my co-host Scott Westbrook will join us, and Scott and I will preview the three area high school games from this area. That'll be Southland Academy, Sumter County High, and Schley County. But first, we're glad to have the head football coach from Sumter County, Will Rogers, to join us. His Panthers will take on the Crisp County Cougars tomorrow night at 7:30. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Coach, you were on not long ago and got to know a little bit about your team. But as you go into week one, kind of give us a preview of what you're expecting next week.
I'm expecting a great crowd, and hopefully we get pretty good stands. I think our team is ready to play. I think we had a really good week of practice. We challenged our guys all week. Again, challenged leadership, and I think we're ready to roll.
Coach, in our conversation prior to going on, you told me that you got two quarterbacks still battling for a position. Talk a little bit about that battle.
They're still going at it. We're going to play both of them this week. We'll give them both an opportunity to earn the job. Job's still definitely open. They're both making strides. Coach staff doing a great job getting those guys ready to roll.
New guy that's come on. He's not new to us. He's new to you. He moved away for a while, but Omari Woodard, a big 6'4" wide receiver, it's got to be good to have a guy like that.
Absolutely. Glad to have him back. He's definitely a weapon on the outside, a long-range guy. He's learning football, but he's doing a really good job. He's catching up quick.
Coach, what do we know right now about Crisp County?
There are a lot of athletes, really explosive. They're really aggressive defensively. A lot of weapons on the perimeter. Number 12, the name escapes me right now. Really, really, really good player. Really explosive. So, again, they got athletes everywhere, and they're pretty well coached as well.
Coach, your game tomorrow night at 7:30 is in Cordele. You got a lot of Panther fans watching right now. What do you want to say to them?
Definitely need you guys to come out and come support. Young man been working really, really hard. I mean, they're excited. Again, it means a lot to me that people, the community is just excited about this game again. I mean, this is our year 3 here now, and the excitement around the community is just unbelievable. So I'm really excited about that. So, again, come out, support. We need you guys.
You heard it right there from Coach Will Rogers. He brought somebody with him tonight. We want to get him on and get him a little airtime too. And Coach, introduce your new offensive coordinator.
Sure, this is Darren DeMayo's offensive coordinator for Sumter County Panthers. Came over from South Gwinnett. Does a really good job for us.
Coach, let's bring you in here and let y'all switch seats. Coach DeMayo is the offensive coordinator for Sumter County, and it's his first year here in Panther Nation. Coach, glad to have you with us.
Thank you for having me today.
Tell me a little bit about your offense.
Well, the offense is, tailored to get good athletes to football. I mean, it's, depending on who our quarterback is, what our most important players are, we can adjust what we do. But basically, it's all based off of a strong inside run game, get to the perimeter fast, and play action off of it.
As Panther fans think about what they'll see when they get to Cordele tomorrow night, are you multiple set on offense? Are you wing T? What do you do?
We're going to be in the gun, normally a 20-11 personnel, so we're going to have, we got 3 really good wide receivers. We got really good running backs, really stable backs that we want to get the ball to. So we're going to be in sets to get them the ball.
One of the things I've heard from all football coaches, and I'm sure you're the same, is your success or your failure a lot of times depends on those big guys up front. Tell me a little bit about your offensive line.
Yeah, so the offensive line will determine how far we go this year. We got 2 starters back from last year, but they were our starting guards. So we moved them in some important roles where Bryce Balley's moved to left tackle, Kyrie Gordon's moved to our center. So it's almost like having 5 new guys up there, but we got experience with those 2 guys who are good football players. And, they're coming along. They came along a little bit in the summer. They did in the scrimmage, and, they should have their best game tomorrow.
Good deal. Coach, let's get away from football and talk about Americas. This is your first year here in this area. How do you like it so far? And do you feel like this will be a place you can call home for a little while?
It's my second season down here. Started here last year.
Okay.
Yep, I was here last year, so second season here. Just learning about the area. I came down here from Atlanta. That's where I've been the last few years. So learning about the area. I've gone out and talked to a lot of businesses and tried to get them involved in our program. And I've learned a lot about the history here. I know there's a lot of strong support here and want to see you do a good job. So I'm here to try to make that happen.
That's Coach Darren DeMaio and Coach Will Rogers from Sumter County. Panther fans, remember they play at 7:30 tomorrow night at Crisp County. If you can't make it to the game, it will be broadcast live on 94.7. Donnie McCrary, along with Tony Smith, will bring you the play-by-play. Coaches, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much.
Again, Sumter County and Crisp County will take on each other tomorrow night in Cordele. One of the things that we wanted to talk about was last week's scrimmage against the Monroe High Tornadoes. Sumter County had a very productive scrimmage there. Both quarterbacks got a chance to play. Some other guys that you may want to keep your eye on, and Scott, I know you know this guy really well. A.J. Kears was a little bummed up last year, kind of had some nagging injuries all year, but he's fully healthy now, and he's going to be one of those guys that D1 coaches are coming calling for.
Right. Coach Rogers said earlier tonight before we got started that it's good to have him healthy. This is, have him healthy all season. He's got a lot of the Power 4 schools are looking his way. He's been up to Georgia a couple times. So, we're looking for an exciting season out of him, no doubt.
And a guy we talked about a lot last year, Scott, that really came on strong was their running back, Quayshawn Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
He'll return in that running back spot, and that's got to be a high point for Coach DeMaio and that offense.
Definitely. They're going to have to fire on all cylinders with all the talk that's been going on the internet. You really hope the Sumter County fans really show up and show out tomorrow night, because the people have been saying, one team's going to wear all black, the other one's going to wear all white. That's much more effective when you got a stand full of folks screaming and hollering and breathing down the neck of the players. So I'm hoping that the whole community turns out tomorrow night for that game.
And here's what we hope the community will realize. Sumter County went through a long stretch there where they just didn't have much success. Had a lot of turnover in the coaching ranks, but we bragged on Coach Rogers a lot last year from day one. You went out and saw them practice. You said they're disciplined, they're working hard, they're going to be good. Well, they put it together and went 5-5. I think the previous 3 seasons before that, they were 1-9 or 2-8, somewhere along that line. So they got to that 5-5 mark. There's a lot of confidence surrounding the Panther program right now.
A lot of confidence, a lot of momentum. And if you're one of those people that kind of set out during the low years, you better check yourself, because now you need to be showing up for the games because you don't have an excuse.
Absolutely. Scott, they're in a new region this year. They go down and play almost all the Columbus schools. I'm going to tell Coach Rogers and Coach DeMaio, you need to leave early and go eat at Country's Barbecue and make that path worn, because they'll be making the trip to Columbus a lot.
The one on Macon Road's got live bluegrass music, I think, on Friday and Saturday nights.
But, Scott, I looked at that region, and the fact that Sumter County is on the upswing, and we think they're going to be really good, and the fact that the competition level in that region, other than about 2 or 3 schools, are a lot of kind of average schools, we really feel like Sumter County's got a real shot to win this region.
When you look at it, there's not a lot of historically strong football schools. Now, there's some strong baseball schools in there. There's some strong basketball schools. Football's been hit and miss for a lot of those teams in the region. So hopefully with the momentum from last year, healthy players, a strong coaching staff, and let's be honest, a lot of this falls on the fans. You get on board, you let these kids in the community feel like superstars, and movie stars during the community when they're walking down the street and in the restaurants. You'll see it, the confidence and the pride for playing for the community will come out on Friday nights.
Absolutely. So if you're a business owner here in Sumter County, get behind what they're doing at Sumter County High School. It's really exciting to see the confidence that they have, and they're doing things the right way. A couple more players we want to make sure and mention. Offensive line probably going to be led up front by a big guy named Bryce Volley. And Coach, we know that he's been good for a lot of years.
Oh yeah. And then they mentioned some other players tonight. A lot of the strength and the talent is in the junior class. There's some in the senior class, obviously, but this junior class is really matured, and they're probably going to step up and show out some too in these early games. We're hoping.
A guy named Kendall Thomas. He's an all-around athlete. Probably will play a lot at linebacker as well, and he's a guy to watch. Joshua Coleman, big kid up front on defense, 6'2", 280 pounds. He's been a good one. Kenyon Walters, also another good one that you'll see there at the linebacker spot. A couple of kids that he gave me tonight, Don Mentor and DeMonte Reeves. And so here you see Sumter County is not one-dimensional. They got several athletes. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And starting off the season with your arch rival, that's huge. That's what better way than to get some momentum in the season was go out and beat Crisp County. With a lot of the crowd support and hopefully, just like with NASCAR, you're starting off with your Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And Scott, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We want Panther fans to make their way to Cordele and help the Panthers win tomorrow night. But next week, former Sumter County coach, Coach Fed, will be back with his Griffin Bears, and that'll be a lot of fun. We'll have to get Coach Will Rogers after that game the following week and see how he feels about that.
Right, but there's only one game that matters right now.
Scott, Crisp County, always a good team.
Mm-hmm.
They are well coached. They'll have a big crowd. When you throw in the rivalry, the emotional part of the game, this is something where Panther fans are going to need to get there early, get their seats. They're going to need to be loud because that 12th man can make a difference.
Most assuredly, and don't want to be swinging in late because I guarantee you they'll have a trooper out there on the outskirts facing towards Americas to pull folks over on the way in. So get there early, get you a good seat, and be ready for the beginning of the game.
Panther fans, stick with us at the end of the show tonight. Scott and I will give you our predictions for all three games based on what we know about that. We're not going to give it away yet. But if you're a Panther fan, show up in Crisp County. Kickoff is at 7:30. If you've got to work or for some reason you can't be there, make sure and tune in to 94.7 WDEC, and Donnie McCrary will have it for you. Our program each week is brought to us by several sponsors. One of those is the Fish House, located at 224 North Jackson Street in Americus. They are a staple for the seafood lover in Southwest Georgia. Whether it's fresh fish, shrimp, or oysters in the Seafood Center, or a hot meal or a cold drink in the Fish House next door, owner Mark Tyler and his staff want to provide you a delicious meal tonight. Go by and see them today or give them a call at 924-5177. The Fish House is proud to sponsor the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, let's move on to Southland Academy. Southland Academy hosts Deerfield Windsor. Last year, Southland ended with a record of 5 wins and 7 losses. Deerfield had a very un-Deerfield-like season. They went 1-9 last year. They did meet head-to-head last year, and Southland won that one 20-12. So always a big rival when you get the Raiders and the Knights together.
Just like America Sumter, you've got our Sumter County, you've got Southland and Deerfield starting off with their rival game. And like you said, last year, Deerfield is coming off of a very disappointing season. So they're looking to get some momentum and come out of the gates and hopefully, not hopefully win, but hopefully they're hoping to establish themselves early in the game. So, with Southland, they're going to have to be ready to start at the very first whistle.
As we look at what is new for Southland in 2024, there is a good bit of new at Southland Academy. They are under new head coach Chance Jones, who we saw earlier tonight. He
Right.
had to go ahead and leave. Hopefully, we'll have Chance Jones in here in the next few weeks on our show. But Chance is kind of known for the wing T offense. That's his bread and butter. And Scott, they're also in a new classification and a new region as they're dropping down to Class AA. But the majority of their schedule, Scott, when you look at it, is teams that they have played year after year after year in that AAA level. So they're going to have a tough schedule this year.
Most assuredly. And, I talked to a fan, ironically, from Brentwood in Sandersville the other day, and they've already pretty much, ordered their state championship rings this year. So you can take that for what it's worth, but Southland, hopefully will definitely surprise some folks this year.
Southland Academy's schedule will include Deerfield, Westfield, Marion County, which is now, I think, the third year in a row they've taken on Marion County. They'll play Brookwood and Thomasville, Coach Eric Soliday and the Tift Area Panthers, as well as Terrell Academy. So all of those schools in the AAA classification are part of their non-region schedule. And they'll also travel to Gatewood, who's always a pretty good program. Once they get into region play, their new region is only 4 teams. So the teams that they'll play in region will be Trinity Christian out of Dublin. They'll travel there. They'll host Robert Toombs Christian from over in the Vidalia area, and they'll travel to Damascus to take on Southwest Georgia Academy.
Earlier today, I went out to the Southland practice and watched them a little bit, and they've got the wing T figured out. The offense looked good. They were, making sure they were doing their assignments, and every once in a while they backed up and passed the ball too. So that'll hopefully keep the defenses honest a little bit and not stack the box against them. But Coach Jones has worked with those boys. He's got some some good coaches. He's got a couple of community coaches out there, but one of them, Coach Eubanks, I read somewhere he was got about 400 wins under his belt in some form or fashion. So so we'll just see how that works out. But they were doing what they were supposed to, and it looked like they're going to be ready tomorrow night.
Some guys to watch for Southland Academy this year. They had a quarterback battle that went deep into the fall camp, and I think Coach McMichael's grandson, Mac McMichael, has been named the starter there. He had a battle with the Boren kid who's done really well, and I'm sure he's an athlete enough. They'll find him a place to help the team. But right now, Mac McMichael looks to be the starting quarterback. Got several athletes that'll probably play multiple areas on both sides of the ball. Guys like Ashton Ray, Turner Simmons, Cade Futch, and Jamarcus Walker. All of those kids will get a chance to carry the football in that wing T offense.
Right. And they were mixing it up tonight. And when I saw them at practice, there was several people getting their hands on the ball.
And in talking to Coach Jones, he said the wide receivers, speaking of folks that you said you saw him drop back and pass a few times, he said, we got some kids that can catch it too. So Jackson Webb and Alan Stick, as well as Bryant Rowland and Christian Short. I want to talk about Christian Short. He's a newcomer. He's akin to Dan Reeves, of all people. His mother, Jenny Short, used to work with me when I first came to Americus in our office in the Parks and Rec department. So we're glad to have them back in town. And he said, hey, Christian Short's going to help us out a whole lot. At the tight end, it looks like Christian Short will probably play there. Here's another kid that I really like. At the center position, Cade Cheese Dog Ledger. We talked a lot about Cade's older brother while he was coming through, Chase Ledger. But now it's Cade's chance. He's a sophomore. Last week during the scrimmage, got a lot of time snapping the football. He's going to be a good one.
Oh, no, most definitely. He is built like a center, too,
And he's a tough kid.
Oh, yeah.
You can knock him down, he's going to get back up. On the defensive side of the football, Davis Daniel and Jaden Patel will be defensive standouts, along with Jack Say. And we've already mentioned Cade Futch. He'll be one of those guys. You'll see him run the football as well as playing along that defensive line. Coach Jones very high on a kid at linebacker that came on strong toward the end of the year last year, and that was Ethan Beck. So looking for good things from multiple athletes there at Southland Academy. For Deerfield, one of the neat things is their defensive coordinator at Deerfield is Craig Rhodes, who we all know very well. He's been at Southland for many years. The one thing you know about a Craig Rhodes defense is even if the talent level is down, he'll coach them up. They're going to be very good.
Most definitely. And then, yeah, and like I said, Deerfield is going to want to establish themselves early in this game and early in the season after going 1-9 last year. So they will coming out. They're coming out of the gates ready to go. So I would hope Southland is going to be ready and meet them in the field and do the exact same thing.
Offensively, Deerfield Windsor will be. They'll have a multiple offense. They do throw it around a little bit. Their quarterback's really good, and their linebacker and running back play very, very good. So pay attention to what happens up front, because anytime your linebackers are having to make most of the tackles, usually toward the end of the game, you've worn that front line down and you get to the second level of the defense. I think Southland can have some success there.
Well, I think one thing Deerfield does have a little bit more depth than Southland. Southland's the numbers they have, but we were talking earlier tonight. When Coach Alford started at Schley County, he had 19 players show up, and look what they've had on the past few years. So it's going to take some of the kids that are walking the halls right now getting interested in football again, and realizing the value of playing your high school football and not living a life with regrets when you get to be 25, 30, and 35 years old and wishing you had played. A lot of these kids that are playing now, hopefully will recruit some of their friends out there in the coming years.
Chance Jones, the new head coach, will be the offensive coordinator this year. He brought a defensive coordinator with him, and we'll let him talk about his new defensive coordinator when he comes. But, you got guys like Mike Shaddles, who's a community coach that's been there for many years. Mike's had a lot of success with that offense, and I'm sure he'll be a big help to them again this year. This game will be played at Harvey Simpson Stadium here in Americus on the campus of Southland Academy. But there is one thing that Raider fans need to be aware of. They have moved the game time to 8 o'clock. So kickoff is not until 8 o'clock. You can show up at 7:30. In fact, I'm sure they would prefer that you do that and get a big crowd in there. But be aware that 8 o'clock is the kickoff time. And again, Raider fans, we will make a prediction at the end of the show, so stick around with us. One Digital Solutions is another one of our sponsors, and they are a steward of business growth and personal development. They solve real issues for your business and for your employees. They do that by fusing together things like employee benefits, HR, and financial services. By doing this, it provides a tech-enabled, contemporary work-life experience. It's really everything all in one. It's One Digital. Contact our friend Will Peterson. His number is 229-347-6289. Again, that number, 229-347-6289. Let One Digital assist you today. So, Scott, we've talked with Sumter County Coach Will Rogers. We've previewed Southland Academy and Deerfield Windsor, and that brings us to Schley County. They will make the trip down to the Florida line to Seminole County in Donaldsonville. Last year's record, Schley County finished 12-1. Seminole County finished 7-5. Kickoff at 7:30 in Donaldsonville. Going to be a good one.
Is Donaldsonville Eastern Time Zone?
I don't know. I would assume so.
I think they are. That's North Florida. Any of those counties down there on the line, I just consider them North Florida. So, yeah, that's going to be a haul tomorrow. I can promise you.
So you ask, what is new at Schley County this year? We do have some new things going on. One of those is a new defensive coordinator. He's not new to the staff, but he's new to the role of defensive coordinator, and that's Greg Smith. And I know you think a whole lot of Greg Smith.
I do, through my son also. That's I can remember. Which coaches your kid really loves. And Greg Smith was one that Carson did, and let me tell you, Greg Smith had those kids on special teams prepared last year. Carson, I can remember several times on Sunday evening, him watching special team films. And, so he will do a lot of things that you don't know about in getting the kids prepared for the game.
Absolutely. His dad, Steve Smith, many are aware of. He's been a really good football coach for over 30 years. Another new member of our staff, Nathan Hammock, comes over from Southland Academy. He'll be on the defensive side of the ball. And one of our middle school coaches, Nick Bentley, stepping up on the varsity. You know both of those guys, Scott. I think they'll be a big plus for us.
And most definitely. I can't think of anything bad about either one of them. And if I did, I wouldn't say it either. But genuinely, I can't think anything bad about either one of them.
All right, Scott, we're going to have a new quarterback for the first time in 3 years. We watched him a lot. He got a good bit of playing time last year. But Blake Weldon now under center for the Wildcats. Tell us a little bit about Blake.
Blake got a lot of playing time last year, especially whenever Schley would have a big lead in the game. He did well. He sat under the tutelage and watched, Jay for so many years. So he kind of knows what the Coach Alford wants him to do. And I think that Blake's going to do well. I think as we said earlier, and I think it's in the notes for us to talk about a little bit later, but Kendall Sims will maybe stepping in at quarterback occasionally. Kendall's going to be your playmaker, no doubt. He's going to step in and replace Jalewis Solomon and be the one that, that they try to get the ball to whenever they need a big play and catch the defense sleeping sometime and put him at quarterback.
We noticed a lot of times last year when Blake Weldon would come in, he makes really good reads. He's a smart football player.
Tall kid.
Yeah, has a good, strong arm. Definitely ready to step up and fill this role. Scott, you mentioned Kendall Sims, definitely going to be an all-purpose guy. I think we'll see him a lot out at the wide receiver position. But like you said, I think they've got a package already developed for him to be more of a Wildcat type quarterback.
And then that's going to be exciting to watch too, to catch you, because if he gets past that first line of defenders, Katie bar the door. There's not many people in single A Georgia that can catch him.
Another guy that you and I thought really came on strong last year is a 6'5" receiver. I think he's a junior this year, and that's Jordan Hudson.
Don't you know Blake Weldon is going to love to have a 6'5" target when he's sitting there looking over that over the helmets and trying? It'll be easy to pick Jordan out. Jordan has had a really good summer. He's gone to some football camps. He's gotten some response from some colleges. When we talk about the eye test, Jordan Hudson passes the eye test for a receiver. He really does. That big frame, that athleticism. I think that this is Jordan's season to have a breakout in football and really show out and really make some clutch plays when they need one on a third and long or a fourth down or something. He's going to be that big target they can look to.
Scott, in addition to that, all of these guys on the offensive line coming back, they've got experience, they've got good size. When we had Darren Alford on a few weeks ago, Darren said this is going to be one of the strengths of our team. He's
really excited about offensive line. He's really, you can just. I mean, I watched the show when you had him on there, and I've heard several people say that he is super excited about this offensive line, and that's just your foundation right there of your offense. And so if we're going to have a strong offensive line, then that's something that hopefully. Blake and the others will benefit from also.
Defensively, the Wildcats have two linebackers that are kind of the stars of the show. They've got several good ones, but I think everybody in America knows about five-star All-American Zayden Walker. But there's another guy that plays linebacker with him that's really good, and that's Brody Smith. Those two guys are leaders.
Brody's going to be the beneficiary of playing with somebody like Zayden, because that's one thing that happened with Carson last year playing with Jalewis. They're going to put their best player against they would do against the Jalewis, and then that would leave Carson and some of the others open. Brody's going to have the same effect. I mean, they're going to probably run away from Zayden and run towards Brody, and that's going to help him have some pretty good stats. And the thing is they may look and say, okay, this may be an easier path, but it ain't much easier. Because we've seen Brody. We've seen Brody probably with a broken leg, So I mean, he's not somebody that's somebody. Without Zayden Walker on the team, he would probably be one of the best, if not the best, linebacker in the region. So I think that defensively and at linebacker especially, we're in pretty good shape.
What Coach Alford really likes about Brody Smith, Scott, is when you're in that inside linebacker position, you can't fall for all the eye candy that teams do. And he said Brody doesn't fall for eye candy. He knows his assignments, he knows his gaps, and he hits them. Also, Scott, let's talk a little bit about our opponent, Seminole County. They have 40 on their roster. Only 6 of those players are seniors.
They may be very similar to what we're talking about with Sumter County. They may be junior heavy this year, and so hopefully, they're gonna be playing with a lot of tenacity. But the reality is they won't be playing with a whole lot of experience tomorrow night. So hopefully we can capitalize on that and exploit the fact that that they don't have a whole lot of game experience.
They are very young up front on both sides of the ball, and that should bode well for the Wildcats. What Seminole County does is they try to spread you out the width of the field. They keep everything wide gaps. They want you having to catch their receivers, and they do have a couple of good receivers. Got a good little quarterback in Ellis Denham, throws the football. We got to watch some film on him from their scrimmage last week. They beat Shaw out of Columbus 14-7 last week. But going to be really good, and we're going to have to go down there ready. They do want to spread you out and create holes. They have a really good running back in junior Demarion Moore, and he had a touchdown in that scrimmage last week. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we go down to Seminole County and Donaldsonville. That's a long trip, and we hope Wildcat fans will make it. We know that Wildcat Nation travels well. For those of you that cannot make it, we will be on 98.7 WISK tomorrow. That'll be myself and former defensive coordinator Tim Peavy will join me, and we'll come on at 7:15 after Coach's Corner. Today's program is also brought to you in part by Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. They are located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard here in Americus. Drop by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs. They can even do the discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks again to Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, Scott, let's quickly talk about a few of the other games in our area that don't involve the 3 teams that we cover in depth. One of those is an interesting one to me. That's Marion County and Hawkinsville.
The thing is, doing the first show, we're a lot of speculation right now. We don't really know. These kids, they don't. The teams don't want to show a whole lot in their scrimmage, and that makes sense. And so, a lot of times, unfortunately, you go after what you thought last year. But we have a little bit of better knowledge of Marion County. Marion County is going to be better this year than they were last year. They were one of those young teams that most of their stars were juniors and things like that. So they're gonna be a better team this year. So I'm going to go with Marion County over Hawkinsville.
Yeah, they still got the good road kid back at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a kid with a lot of experience back there, and that tends to make a difference. I'm going to go with Marion County as well. Taylor County takes on Jasper County. I know a good bit about Taylor. Don't know anything at all about Jasper.
I know Jasper used to be called Monticello.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And I remember their football field they had in the middle of town, which I don't know if they use that anymore or not. But Taylor has got some pretty good ball players. They've the coach is in his second year. Coach Byram, I believe, is in his second, maybe third. I forget. But anyway, the people are starting to buy into his program and him as a coach. And so I'm going to go with Taylor County on this because whether they're Monticello or Jasper County, they're really not known as a football school. So unless all of a sudden they've turned over a new leaf that I'm unaware of, then I'm going with Taylor.
And I think Coach Byram's done a terrific job, Scott. I remember a couple of years ago in his first year when Schley County traveled to Taylor County, he had the best game plan I saw of anybody where he just maintained the football, and we didn't get it but 2 or 3 times in the whole first half.
That's right. Yeah, the years are running together for him. You're right. He's in his third year, and he really saw things that apparently a lot of the other opponents, the Schley County, didn't see as a way to limit the scoring and keep the game close, at least through the first half.
Here's a big one. Probably the biggest game on the schedule in Southwest Georgia, Lee County and Warner Robins.
I've never fancied myself as a football coach, and I have never pretended to know more than a football coach, but I think I can coach Lee County and just hand the ball off to that running back and have pretty good success because that's what they did last year for a lot of their big games, and I predict they're going to do it this time. He could not have gotten worse. He could only gotten better, and if that's the case, I'm going with Lee County all the way.
I'm right there with you. Lee County, always a powerhouse in football. That running back's one of the top kids in all of Georgia, not just Southwest Georgia. Lee County and Warner Robins, it'll be a slobber knocker in game one, but get out and support your Lee County Trojans. If you're a Lee County fan watching this, we're going to go with Lee County over the Warner Robins Demons. And then, Scott, right up the road, Macon County will travel to Southwest Macon. Macon County under a new head football coach this year. Southwest Macon had struggled a lot, but really started putting things together last year.
They haven't had the success they did, 10 years ago or whatever. But I'm still going to go with Macon County because unfortunately, I don't know what it is with the schools in Macon, the public schools in Macon. They've struggled for a while in football. They were there for a while. They were strong everywhere, but then they became basketball schools, most of them. And Macon County is definitely still a football school. So I'm going with Macon County.
Scott's going to go with Macon County. I'm going to follow his lead. I'm going to go with Macon County as well. So it's time now for prediction time. And this is with the three schools that we cover every week, Southland, Sumter County, and Schley County. Let's start, Scott, with Deerfield Windsor at Southland Academy.
I still believe after what I saw at practice today, I think these young men have figured out the wing tee. They've worked with it every day all summer and the spring. I feel like Southland is going to catch Deerfield on their heels. It's as soon as Deerfield thinks they've got it figured out, they're going to get a pass thrown and they're going to have 10, 11 guys in the box and somebody's going to slip out, whether it be the tight end or one of those receivers you mentioned earlier.
Southland Academy is down a little bit in their roster. They've got about 28 or 29 players. Deerfield roster is going to be about double that. That could be a key late. So if you're a Southland player or a Southland fan, make sure that your guys all year long buy into what Coach Chance Jones is trying to do. Stay in good condition because there's a depth issue there. I do think Southland Academy is a little more talented in the starting lineup than Deerfield will be, but you got to stay healthy and you got to stay in condition so that you're ready in the fourth quarter. I'm going to say this is going to be a close one because of that and because of the rivalry. But being a local guy and a big fan of new head coach Chance Jones, and I love their new athletic director, William Rooks, I'm going to go with Southland Academy in a close one as well.
I'm going with Southland despite William Rooks.
All right, Scott, our next one, Schley County travels down to Seminole County. What do you think?
I think Schley County, the players that we've already mentioned, the ones that are stepping up and filling the spots with the kids that graduated, the fact that Coach Alford is so fired up. He's an offensive line guy, and he's so fired up about this offensive line. With Blake Wellen has got more experience than folks think. Kendall Sims, phenomenal receiver. Jordan Hudson, big target. Unless Seminole County just all of a sudden just comes out and just blows the doors off of us in the beginning of the game, I feel quite certain Schley County will go win that game in North Florida.
I'm going to be there with you. Schley County gets the win down in Seminole County. Last week in the scrimmage, Schley got off to a slow start. We also were driving with about 2 minutes left to go in the game, down 24-20. Lost the football and let them score late to make it 31-20. So that was a very close game against a very good Lamar County team.
Mm-hmm.
I think Schley County starts putting it together when it counts next week or tomorrow at Seminole County. So I'm going with Schley County as well. And that will bring us to the big game in our immediate area, and that's the Sumter County Panthers over at Crisp County. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I'm ever since we did this first show last year, I was a Will Rogers fan. I think that I was I wouldn't say vindicated, but I was it proved to be true that Will Rogers is the real deal,
yeah,
and has built a coaching staff around him like they have the same mindset he does. He's gotten more kids out there, I think, this year because they had success last year. I think he looks at this as a momentum starter game, even though it's the arch rival, even though it's not a reaching game. this can definitely get them off on the right path. With Kearse healthy, with Crisp County with a lot of question marks, even though they historically have been pretty good. They've struggled these past few years. When Sumter County seems to be a program on the rise, Crisp County seems to be a program that's kind of gone a little stagnant. So I'm going with Sumter County.
I think you hit the nail on the head. That's what I was going to call Crisp County, was a stagnant program. They're not bad, and if you overlook them, they certainly will beat you.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't made that jump. And I think Will Rogers is developing culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes more than a year or two to develop the kind of culture you want, but he's got them on that upward trajectory. Sumter County fans, you can be the difference in this game tomorrow night. Go to Cordele, support the Panthers. I'm going to say it's close because it is that huge rivalry game. It's the Battle of the Flint. But as Scott mentioned, A.J. Kearse is healthy. Quayshawn Tatum is healthy. A good quarterback battle where both of those kids, and I've watched these two guys since they've been in rec ball, and Ishmael Jones and Jayshon Bobs, very good quarterbacks, very good athletes. I'm going with the Panthers as well.
One thing you can watch when a football program's turn around, and let's just be honest, Sumter County needed to be turned around, and they're in the turnaround mode. One thing you can watch is when a team's not doing well, they typically lose a lot of games big. When things start to turn around, they may still be losing games, but they lose them by a very narrow margin. When they make that turn on the corner, they start winning by a little narrow margin. When they're back there and they're firing on all cylinders and they're where they want to, they start winning by a big margin. Right now, Coach Will Rogers did that last year. They had some losses, but he narrowed it, made them close losses. Did the same thing, and they won some close games. Let's watch and see if they start winning some close games and start winning big, and they start getting the momentum going in the playoffs.
It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of excitement surrounding all three of these schools right now. Will Rogers at Sumter County, Chance Jones over at Southland Academy, and of course Darren Alford over at Schley County have their fan bases at an all-time high right now. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Make plans now to be here next Thursday at the Roman Oven at 7:15. We are hoping that all of the high school quarterbacks in this area, so Ishmael Jones and Jayshon Bobs from Sumter County, Blake Weldon from over at Schley County, and Matt McMichael from over at Southland. We're hoping that all of those guys will make a cameo here for a few minutes next week. And Scott, that's what we want this program to be, is something where we can highlight these student athletes and these coaches that are making such a positive impact in our area.
Most definitely. I'm glad to give up my seat anytime somebody like that shows up.
Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to get over that 1,000 subscriber mark. Let me tell you this, there's a difference in viewing and subscribing. So anybody can view, but you have to have a YouTube account to hit subscribe and it counts. So go and create a YouTube account so you can watch us each week and hit the subscribe button for us. If we can ever reach over that 1,000 mark, we can do a lot more things technically with the program, and that'll help us out a lot. But Scott, I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to a good season with you, and your final thoughts as we go into week one.
I'm just ready for us to get started because it's so much easier to do this show prep and get everything ready when you've got something to build on other than just practice and scrimmages. I know it's frustrating for us just like it is coaches getting prep time, but tomorrow night's when the rubber meets the road, and it's when you've got to show what you got regardless, because you're playing for keeps then, and we'll know a lot more this time next week than what we know right now.
Just as we get ready to sign off, I want to remind all you Southland Academy fans, you're hosting the game tomorrow at Harvey Simpson Stadium, but they have moved kickoff time to 8 o'clock rather than 7:30. So be aware of that. For you folks going to Crisp County, that'll be a 7:30 kickoff. If you can't make it, Donnie McCrary will have it on WDEC 94.7. And for those that can't make it down to Seminole County, we'll have it on the radio on 98.7 WISK. Thank you for joining us. For my good friend, Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.